This is Caps PA announcer Wes Johnson, and you're listening to Board the Pod.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of What the Puck. It is a Washington Capitals podcast, and that means it's a podcast about your 2018 Stanley Cup champions. Thank you all for listening to us live right here on YouTube and Twitch. I hope you guys are enjoying your Friday nights, and it is close to 100 degrees here in Maryland, which means, of course, we're going to be talking about some ice hockey. Joining me, as always, to talk all about the stuff going on in Caps world, my buddy, Coach Dan. He's not busy at all during the summer. He's free as a jaybird. So, Coach Dan, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I am all right. How you doing, buddy? It's been a little while.
It's been a little bit. We finally got something to talk about here. The Caps have made a splash. It's as crazy. It's as before the draft, but let's jump right into it. The Capitals have made a big trade. They have traded away Darcy Kuemper, our number one goaltender for a little bit of time, for a top six forward in Pierre-Luc Dubois. So, Coach Dan, let's just start off easy peasy here. What was your idea? What was your thoughts on the trade? Do you think it was a fair trade? Do you think it was time for Darcy to go? Just give me your overall thoughts of this trade here for the Capitals.
Well, I just want to call him Dubois so we can go back to doing the Thomas DePauli bit that we used
DePauli
to
for a cup of coffee.
From DePauli, he's going to go and play some hockey. No, I wasn't surprised that Darcy Kuemper got traded. I was surprised the timing, but also I was a little surprised because there was a couple other trades that happened in the NHL that same day. And I was a little surprised because, like, aren't there other games happening still? Like, there's still two teams fighting for the Stanley Cup. So it seems kind of unfair to them that other teams are like, hey, we're going to try and make ourselves better. And they're like, wait a minute. Why can't we do the same thing? So it seems weird that you can, like, make trades while the Cup finals are happening, while the playoffs are technically still ongoing. But aside from that weird piece to it, I saw Kuemper getting traded. Like, I figured that was going to happen during the summer. I just figured that was going to happen later in the summer, like around the draft, around maybe the beginning or middle of free agency, that kind of thing. I figured by like August 1, we would have had Kuemper would have had a new team. And I was a little shocked that it happened so early. I wasn't overly shocked that they had to take back another player that wasn't working out with the team that he was on. I'm a little shocked and a little not disappointed because that's dramatic, but like concerned that they've not only brought back a player that has a high cap hit, but like $3 million more a year in terms of a cap hit. When we know that this team, like, yes, they're going to be able to go over by like 9 point something or other because of Backstrom, but that's a lot of money to take back. But I think the reality is they had to move on from Kuemper. And they brought a guy in who I think when you first hear that name, you're going, I don't know about this. And then you look at his contract and his recent production, and you're going, this is a terrible trade. Like, why did they do that? But right. I feel like if you look more into it, if you look a little deeper, if you look at the stats, it's a high risk, high reward type move. Like this could go.
We've seen like not George McPhee, but we've seen Brian McCullough kind of take chances on players. Maybe not for this amount of money, but he's taken chances on players before. You know, Brett Connolly was one of them. It's some of the guys recently. He's kind of given big contracts to players that have come in. They've looked really good in a Caps sweater, but maybe didn't have the greatest season beforehand. So he's willing to take a shot on players. He's also very willing to spend money. He's a big fan of spending money. So he was not afraid of this contract from Pierre-Luc Dubois. But that's definitely something that I think has a lot of fans and a lot of pundits here on the internet very worried because it is a lot of money. It's a long contract. I mean, you look at this guy's contract and Tom Wilson's contract; they're eating up a big chunk of the cap space moving forward. But George I'm going to say, God, why am I stuck on George McPhee tonight?
It's kind of preseason for us a little bit here. It's been a while since we talked.
That's right. But Brian McClellan, he's a guy who's not scared to spend money, but also, he's got to make this splash where he's prepping for another cup run while also preparing for the future of a time beyond Ovechkin. So he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place where he's got to swing for the fences at some point. I think bringing in Kuemper was a swing for the fences at that time. He was just coming off a cup run himself. But at the same time, you're looking at it now, and it's been 2 years with Darcy, and last year was not his best year. You can ask him, it wasn't a great year, and he lost that number one spot. He lost it to Charlie Lindgren. Charlie Lindgren outplayed him last year, and Charlie's getting a shot to show that he belongs in the big leagues as a number one.
Oh, 100%. If we're looking at this just from the goalie's perspective, it makes 100% sense that traded Darcy Kuemper. Like you said,
and hold on, real quick. Let me just say this to the live viewers out there. If you'd like to make a comment and talk to us a little bit, make sure you're following us on YouTube and on Twitch. You can put it in the live chat, and we'll try to answer any questions you guys have moving forward. So let us know what you think of the Darcy Kuemper trade. Were you happy to see Darcy go? Are you sad that he's no longer Capital? You type in, let us know. But Coach Dan, sorry to interrupt you, but go for it.
How dare you, sir? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I mean, it makes 100% sense. Like you said, Lindgren was the number one last season. I kept talking about last year in terms of it was like a 50-50 kind of split. There was like a 1A, 1B. But I think halfway, 3/4 of the way through the season, like it was definitely Lindgren was the number one. And I think it makes a lot of sense that they were able to move him out. I mean, you need to free up that before the trade. You're looking at it like we need to free up this cap money, like we need to bring in some players. Offensively, we were not good last season. I mean, look at the stats. I just had it up a second ago, but looking at their overall stats, where did it go? Looking at their overall stats last season in terms of like goal production, they were a bottom 5 team.
Yeah.
That's when you have what this team has been in terms of goal scoring, in terms of offensive production, to be bottom 5, it's embarrassing. To be a negative 37 in goal differential, like that's horrendous. And so come into
but still made it in the playoffs.
That's just a little something
sort of
and some of the other teams. But to know that you are going to need to bring in offensive talent is a reality for this team. And they've brought in a guy who I understand why everyone's concerned about bringing him in. But if he had the same season last year that he had with the Capitals last season, he would have been their 4th highest point producer. So for the money he's making, given that he's under contract for another 7 years at $8.5 million, him and Tom Wilson's contracts end at the same time after the 2030-2031 season. But the fact that he would have been the 4th highest point producer and everyone think he had a bad season, like tells you a lot about this Capitals team and the lack of offense that they had. They had to go out and make a move to bring in an offensive-minded player, and that's what Dubois is. He's an offensive-minded guy. If you take away last season with the LA Kings, where he did not have a good year.
Yeah.
He's had some good years during his career. I mean, he played with Columbus, then Winnipeg, and then LA. Things didn't work out too well in Winnipeg, but he had 27 goals and 36 assists for 63 points in 22-23. Not a lot like 5 years ago. Just the season before his last with Winnipeg. He had 28 goals and 32 assists for 60 points in 21-22. And he had 27 and 34 in 2018-19. It's not like he doesn't have the offensive talent. The other aspect of this that we have to think of is that the Caps are an old team. Like this is not a young team. They just got a lot younger because Dubois is 25. Now he turns 26 on Monday. Happy early birthday. But he's only 26 years old. Like this is a guy who's getting into the prime of his career. And if this works out, if they can actually get him to be an offensive-minded player and a highly productive player, he's a guy who can play on the power play. He's a guy that can play on the first or second line. My guess is he's kind of penciled in for that first line center spot with Ovechkin. If he's a guy that can be an offensive producer, this is a great trade. And you've got him locked up for 7 years. If it doesn't work out, you get a big old problem on your hands because that's a big cap hit. And I don't feel like it's going to be super easy to trade him away, although he's been traded a couple times. So maybe I'm wrong. But like, this is his 4th team and the dude's only 25. That is not great. But I think when you dive in a little bit deeper, when you see what this Caps team needs, it makes a lot of sense to me. It's the money I'm worried about, not the production. But I feel like it to be fair to that. But because Kuznetsov's dead cap hit for another season. But they've got some money to play with. I'm a little confused what the lines are going to be after the first line, but I think that's also because there's too many question marks up in the air. So like Oshie, and then who from Hershey is likely going to make their way up, as well as what kind of money are they going to play with in the offseason. So there's a lot of different things to happen. But at first I was shocked. But the more I looked into it, I like the trade a little bit. It's a high risk, high reward move, but it's professional sports. You got to be a little risky. This isn't a rebuilding team where you kind of, you can play it safe a little bit more. You're not that worried about production. Like you said, this is a team that wants to win and they want to win now. But they have to do it the right way. And they have to do it within the rules of the league in terms of the salary cap. So hopefully this works out. I think we've seen that Spencer Carberry is a good coach.
Right.
And that he can get guys to produce. Maybe not last season as much, but I'm curious to see how he does over the first, let's say, through the holidays. Right? Like if the end of October he's struggling a little bit, I don't think we should all be writing him off and be like, this guy sucks. Because remember, one of the greatest goal scorers of all time sucked pretty much all of last season until he turned it up. So let's give him some time. Let's give him an opportunity and see what he can do.
Now, do you think that one of the reasons why Ovechkin's production could have been down, potentially, is that he just didn't feel right with any of the center line guys that we had? I mean, Strome, we talked about how good of a season he had, but maybe he just didn't really gel very well with him on the first line. We saw Yevgeny Kuznetsov go through his troubles, and he had to fix himself personally, and then he went to the Bears for a little bit, and then he got traded away. So, I mean, yes, you got to find somebody to play nice with Ovechkin. Yes, you got to plan for the future. Yes, but maybe Pierre Dubois comes in and he helps Alex Ovechkin kind of reignite the game that he's been missing the last year or so. Ovechkin is running out of time to get to a postseason and a Stanley Cup run. He's running out of time for that. He's only got 2 years left, something like that. So this has to be something that has to happen now, which I actually was going to ask you this. You kind of brought it up already, though. Why do you think the Capitals went with Pierre-Luc Dubois instead of staying internally with someone to bring up from the Hershey Bears? Is it because they need someone to gel with Alex Ovechkin immediately as he gets there into training camp? They need to be on the same page. Because I have to imagine this is your number one line center that's going to be playing with Alex Ovechkin. So is it just the fact that they need this guy to, hit the ice and just start skating like crazy and just be all over the place? And there is no learning curve, is what I'm trying to say here. Is that why you think they didn't just stay internally and bring up a Bear next season?
Like bring up someone from Hershey in terms of playing on the first line?
Yeah.
I don't think they have anybody that's going to be able to come up and play on the first line. Like they don't have a Nick Backstrom or anyone not of that caliber, but it's anyone that can play on the first line. Like you may have some first line centers if you're a rebuilding team.
Sure.
In Hershey with like maybe Lapierre or probably just Lapierre. But I don't think there's anyone internal from Hershey that could step up and play on the first line. Second or third, fourth? Yeah. But not the first line. And I don't think necessarily we're kind of penciling in Dubois as being the first line center. Let's not forget Dylan Strome had a very good season last year, and he and Ovechkin did gel to an extent. It took a little longer for them to, but I think they did to an extent. And so I could very easily see a first line of like Ovechkin, Strome, Wilson, and then something like, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw this out there, but like Milano, Dubois, Lapierre, or Miroshnichenko, or something like that. Because I feel like on this team right now, going down the middle of the lineup, you have some combo first, second line of Strome and Dubois. Then you have McMichael and Dowd. So if LaPierre, who I have to imagine is going to make the team next season, he's probably starting on the wing. And then it's the question of like, who are those other wingers after Ovechkin and Wilson? At least in the top six, like who knows? It could be Miroshnichenko, LaPierre, Milano if his offensive game rebounds, TJ Oshie if he can, overcome all the injuries and if he hasn't retired at that point. But I think there's a nice 1-2 punch, for lack of a better term, of Dubois and Strome that will be set up for the top two lines. And it's not if you have a good offensive minded coach, and this team, it's what are you, June 21st. Like, we have so many more things that can happen. We still have to get to free agency. We could still see other trades that come up in terms of their the ability to bring in more offense. And I think in terms of bringing someone else in from the outside, I think you had to find the right fit for someone to take on Kuemper and his contract, and a team that was going to be able to absorb that. And I don't think there were that many out there. Earlier in the day, New Jersey brought in Jacob Markstrom from Calgary. So you're running out of options in terms of where you're going to be able to send Kuemper. And I think LA was a perfect spot. I think Dubois was probably the only guy that they were going to get that wasn't going to either have them eat some of, or retain, I should say, some of the salary from Kuemper, where they're going to get something of value. If Dubois works out, it's a fantastic move. I guess that's kind of obvious. Like, any trade that works out is a fantastic move. But to be fair, any trade that works out is a good. If Dubois works out, it's a fantastic trade because you've found a top 6 player, if not a top 3 player on your team. If it doesn't work out, you have a big problem on your hands. And honestly, Brian McClellan's probably out of a job.
All right. So you're stepping on my toes again, man. That was gonna be my next question.
It's called a segue, buddy.
It's a segue. There we go. Perfect. So, like we saw with George McPhee and the Martin Erat trade, that didn't work out, and he was out the door. Almost,
it wasn't because of that. It was because of a lot. That was like the final. Like, are you serious?
That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Let's be honest there. Could this be Brian McClellan's Martin Erat? Like, if we're halfway through the season, say it's Winter Classic time, and it's on New Year's Eve this time, but it's Winter Classic time, and this guy's not working out. Are we talking about mid-season a general manager being let go? Like, is this his last hill to die on?
No, because I don't think you can look at it necessarily in one season. I don't know. I mean, you can. I think if Dubois has a really bad season next year, I think we could see a change at general manager, but I think it's after the season. I don't see Leon just making a move mid-season, barring like having to stop McClellan from making a crazy trade where he's like, "Are you nuts?" Like, McClellan makes some kind of psychotic move to try and save his job. I don't think it's fair to say this is like this is a similar trade to Erat and Forsberg, because we knew Kuemper was gonna be traded. Like, it made no sense to him. It made no sense to the organization to keep him. The Erat for Forsberg trade was like, what are you doing? Why are you trading this rookie who, like, yeah, you might think he's a little slow, but he's clearly got offensive talent. You were lucky that he fell to you in the draft when everyone thought he was going to get, like, they weren't even planning on picking him.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, well, he's going to get taken before us. We're not even going to worry about it. And then he was there, and they were like, huh? This guy's available? And like drooling as they were picking him. And then they're like, we're going to trade him for Martin Erat. Oops. And it turns out he can skate. And so, I think this is more like the risk is really in the cap hit. If it was a 7-year deal at like $4 million, that's annoying, but not the end of the world. That's easier to move or buy out, although that would kind of suck. The 8.5 is where I'm going, ooh, this better work. You had to make a move. You had to get in some offense. And on paper, to be fair, ignoring last season, it's not the worst idea. I know there are some people that really don't like this move because it is a highly risky move because of that cap hit. But I think this is a tight-knit group in the locker room. I think they have a really good coaching staff. And I think if those things can kind of mesh together, like, I know some people have been talking about how, like, Dubois may be an issue in the locker room.
I have heard that rumor.
So I imagine they did their due diligence. Like, I don't think they just went in and were like, we're going to trade for that guy. Like, this isn't just a video game where they can go and just make a trade because that guy's stats are good, even though they weren't that great last season. Again, he would have been 4th on this team in scoring. Like, I think we need to calm down in terms of being concerned about his stats, considering everyone else's stats sucked. Well, almost. There were 3 guys that didn't suck. So I'm not that worried about it because I feel like a guy that comes in, if they're going to be like, it's all about me, you're going to look at that one of the greatest goal scorers of all time across the locker room going, no, it's not.
It's all about him.
You're getting line around body checking you through the glass in practice kind of thing. Like, it's just not going to happen. I don't see it. I see this as a group that like does not let players act like that. I'm going to make a comparison here that I think could work out. And it's going to, you're not going to quite get it because you don't follow European football, but just bear with me.
Okay.
So last summer, my team, Arsenal Football Club, made a trade. They made a purchase where they bought from Chelsea Football Club, our buddy Ryan's team, Kai Havertz, German international, did not have a great time towards the end of his time with Chelsea. And Arsenal fans, myself included, were like, we're buying this guy for 65 million euro. Like, what are we doing? We need a goal scorer. Like, this is not helping. What are we doing? And the coach, you know, the essentially the general manager, if we're going to use hockey talk, the coach were like, no. He's going to be great. You just give us time. He's going to be great. And he had a slow start to the season. And Arsenal fans were like, oh my God, we look like idiots. Like, why did we buy this guy? And about halfway, and they kept saying, like, give it time. Give him a lot of praise. He's going to get there. And the players were giving him a lot of credit. And the players were giving him a lot of love. And then halfway through the season, towards the end of the season, it clicked. And Kai Havertz ended up being a very good player for Arsenal. I think we need to give Dubois time to come in, to work with his coaching staff, to work with these players, and see how he does. I think after October, if he's struggling, we should stay behind him. And I think the players will do the same thing, and they'll give him opportunities to score. I remember with Havertz, there was one time where they got Arsenal got a penalty kick, and he's not the normal guy, Bukayo Saka is, and they let him take it. And then when he scored the penalty, they were all like smacking him on the back of the head, and like everybody had a huge smile on their face. And it was like, we're going to pump this guy up. I think we need to do the same thing with Dubois. If he's coming to the locker room and being a, you know what, like, no, bye. This was a dumb trade. But if he comes in and they're giving him a lot of credit, and they're backing him, and they're giving him a lot of love and support, which I think is what they're going to do, and I think the fans need to do the same thing and give him time to adjust, then I think we could see a really good player on our hands. So, you know, let's see what happens. I think it was right. They got a younger guy, a guy who's got offensive talent, number 3rd in the draft at one point. So clearly someone saw something. And he's shown offensive production in the NHL in the past on a Columbus team, which isn't very good. Wait, hold on. I just thought of something. Did he play with Columbus when the Caps went up against in the play? Yeah, he did. Interesting.
He was with Columbus during 2018?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know why that didn't click for either one of us so that looks like that was his rookie year. 20 goals, 28 assists.
I'll have to watch that series again.
It looks like 2 goals and 2 assists in the playoffs and a power play goal. So it was written in the stars. No, I think we have to give him time and see if it works. And I believe, unless I'm mistaken, like, he's not a little dude. Like, he's not going to come in. He's 6'4", 225.
6'4". Okay, he's a tall guy.
So he's tall, and I believe he can skate. So he's gonna wear, I think, what, number 80?
80, yeah.
That's kind of fun.
DJ Stretch I think he's the only other guy to wear 80 when he was the backup goaltender for like half a game.
No, so I think it's fun. I'm excited. It took me a while, but I always get excited about trades, except for the Eret to Forsberg one. I remember I was at work and I saw that come up and I was like, why are we doing this? And it was rumored at first, and I was like, no. Somebody, I was Shia LaBeouf in the Terminator movies. I just kept saying no, over and over and over. Like, this needs to not happen, and it did. But I'm intrigued by this Dubois trade. I'm very intrigued because I really think this could work out. Now that I've said that, he's gonna suck. Like, I'm so sorry, everybody, that I've jinxed it.
I think these guys are working really hard to make this offense into something that it wasn't last year. Last year, it was constantly in flux. I don't think we ever had a fully healthy offense at all last year. I mean, with Alex Ovechkin, he was out for a little bit. He wasn't himself until the All-Star break. There were other issues. Nick Backstrom went out. TJ Oshie looks like he's close to retirement. Sonny Milano didn't look good last year. He was out for a long stretch of time. Yevgeny Kuznetsov had his issues. So it seems like they are trying to invest in this offense to make this offense a threat again, because it just wasn't last year. So let's hope it works out. Let's see what this guy can do in training camp and in preseason and all that. But going to the goalie who is goalie number one right now, Charlie Lindgren. He is the number one goaltender for the Washington Capitals. Brian McClellan and Spencer Carberry said that Charlie Lindgren proved himself, that he kept the Capitals in a lot of games, and that he deserves a shot at that number one spot. So what are your thoughts on Charlie Lindgren getting that number one spot? You know, I was a big fan ever since I saw him. I always was saying,
Oh, Lindgren is your boy.
I think he's the number one. I don't think Darcy is. I said that from the first month or two these guys were paired up. And I was like, I don't really see it in Darcy. I see it in Charlie. So Charlie's come in. He's proven that he can be a number one guy. They're giving him the shot. What are your thoughts on Charlie Lindgren?
I mean, he's proven he can be the number one guy so far. I feel like in professional sports or in the NHL, we've seen this before, where like someone comes in, you're like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And then after that, they're terrible. And I'm not saying that's going to be Charlie Lindgren. I'm just saying, like, we all need to kind of temper our expectations a little bit to see how he is next season and the one after that. Because for every guy that's kind of turned it up later in their career, there's been a guy that's turned it up for a season and then been garbage. Like, we were all like,
oh real quick. So I don't know if you can look up Charlie's contract, but is he just signed through this next season, or is it the next 2 seasons?
No, it's through next season. According to Capitals owned Cap Friendly,
for the next couple days.
In a minute. That was the weirdest thing. I was like, what? He signed up through next season. So they're going to have to, I imagine right now they're working on an extension for him, which could also,
or are they? Because we've got 2 really good goaltenders down in Hershey right now, where we've got Hunter Shepard, who I assume is the number 2, but maybe they will go out in free agency and get a new backup and keep Hunter in Hershey. I doubt that, because he's had a cup of coffees here in the big times, and he's played well. Hunter has, so I have to assume he's number 2. But then you also have Stevenson, who, from what I've been hearing, is that he's going to be the long-term guy for the Capitals moving forward, and he's kind of like the new Holtby, who was always waiting in the wings until he got his big start and then claimed that number one goalie spot, and he was the guy for a good chunk of time. So I'm wondering, they're keeping Lindgren for this season. After that, they might be like, Hunter Shepard and Stevenson really did a great job together in Hershey. Let's bring them up to the big leagues together. So I'm wondering if that's kind of like what they got in mind as well.
Yeah, I think to an extent, I definitely think that they have Stevenson kind of penciled in as their number one of the future. I think they have Lindgren penciled in as their number one guy now. And I think you're right. I think Hunter Shepard is likely going to be their backup next season. It might be Stevenson, but I feel like if Stevenson is your guy for the future, you don't want him as your backup next season because he's not playing enough.
Right.
Like Stevenson and Shepard were kind of trading this past season in terms of being the guy in Hershey. My guess is Stevenson is the man in Hershey next season. Shepard backs up Lindgren in goal. But Lindgren's going to need a new contract, and hopefully he can keep up that consistent level of being in the number one for the next 2 or 3 seasons before Stevenson is ready to go. Because if he can't, then the concern about this trade isn't that they brought in Dubois. The concern is they don't have a number one goalie. So there's 2 risky aspects of this trade overall. One, you've traded away arguably the more consistent number one over their career. And you brought in a guy that you're not sure is going to work out, and he's got a big contract. Ideally, in the Caps' mind, I have to imagine, Lindgren is their number one for the next 2, 3, 4 seasons, something like that. And Dubois does very well and is very productive offensively. I fully expect, knock on wood, those to be the case, but we'll see what happens. Because if Lindgren doesn't do well, then you have to find the cap space to potentially make a trade for a goalie. If you're a team that wants to compete for a chance to get into the playoffs and maybe make a run at the cup.
Well, it's an interesting time that we're living in. I felt like there was so much uncertainty last year. I'm glad some of this stuff is being worked out this early in the off season because it's going to get ramped up real soon. We do have the draft coming up within a week. We've got free agency coming up at the beginning of July. Training camp is right around the corner. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now in Caps world. Coach Stan, is there anything else you want to talk about with Pierre-Luc Dubois and the Darcy Kuemper trade, Charlie Lindgren? Anything else you want to talk about that, or can we move on?
No, I don't think. I think we've pretty much covered everything. I think I was definitely shocked at the timing of the trade, but I'm excited. I mean, I think this team needs some offensive help, and I think Dubois could be at least a piece of that. I think there's still more moves to be made in terms of helping the offense. I think Dubois, I think with his cap hit, that's going to leave them about, after they put Backstrom on LTIR, that probably gives them about $10 million to play with, and they have some holes to fill. Not a ton. Shepard's not going to cost you. Oh, what's Shepard's got? His contract is probably, or his cap at something 775,000, so that's not bad. You've got to fit. I think that when I said about 10 million left, that includes the dead cap hit for Kuznetsov, but that's gone after this season. I wouldn't be shocked to see them trade a defenseman, potentially for someone that's not very expensive, so that frees up some more cap space. Like, you can see one of those moves where you're like, okay, we'll trade you for a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round pick or a 4th round pick because we need the cap space, being that a Nick Jensen or a Trevor Van Riemsdyk, one of those kind of moves. But they still have some guys they got to take care of. Like, you still got to re-sign Connor McMichael. You got to re-sign Beck Mallinston. If you want to re-sign Aube-Kubel or Pacioretty, I don't see Pacioretty coming back, and I could see Aube-Kubel coming back, but it's probably got to be a low cap hit. And you need to find some offense and figure out what's going on with TJ Oshie. So there's still a lot. My point is, there's still a lot of moves to be made with this team.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in the future. The preseason schedule for the Washington Capitals has been released. They've told us what to expect coming up at the end of September, and this might be our first chance to see what Pierre-Luc Dubois how he looks in a Caps jersey in one of these games. So, Coach Dan, any special games pop out at you? I know preseason is preseason. I want to post this though. Let me post this up here. So that's the graphic. Let me turn the banner off. That's the graphic that the Capitals have put out. Really, move over here. Really slick looking. I can't do it. Oh, God, I'd be a terrible weatherman. There we go. Really slick
I'm
looking.
terrible at this.
Yeah, really slick looking graphic they have going here.
Clever. I'll give them credit. It's clever. Whoever designed that, well done.
Well, do you notice something about it? Look at that stick.
I was say the logos are hard to look at.
The stick is definitely the old school Capitals.
You're looking too much into it.
This is a big season coming up. Could we be potentially seeing an alternate jersey sneak preview with this graphic coming up? Because that is the old school. What can I do here? Can I do something here? Remove from? Nope, never mind. Don't want to do that. Could potentially they be giving us a little sneak preview here with this graphic of we're getting special jerseys with the old school Capitals logo? Thoughts?
Didn't Tarek El-Bashir someone come out and talk about how they weren't doing any special jerseys next season?
If he did, this ruins my whole bit.
Well, or am I making that up? I like that popped in my head, but I could totally be making that up. I don't know. I mean, I think you're looking too much into it, personally. I feel like if they were going to tease that, they wouldn't do it. Like, they would be a different way. Like, LA just recently redid their, kind of, their logo. They're going back to the black and the silver and the white. And kind of been teasing a lot of stuff ahead before they did it. Anaheim has been teasing some stuff. I feel like you would do it differently. Anaheim's, I think, going with the current color scheme, but the old logo, I think, is what they're going to do. And so let me look. I don't even know if they posted anything yet, outside of a quick tease. So I don't. Yeah,
post that up again. I know it's got the stars. It's got the stick there, and that looks like the old school because we're
Oh,
in 20.
100% it does, but I still think you're looking too much into it.
This is a special season though, right? Because the Capitals became a team in '74, so this is 2024. So this is the 50th anniversary,
I mean, it would make sense,
right?
huh? I feel like we would have heard more about this. I feel like we would have heard more about it then.
50th anniversary though, they're going to do more than just a patch. Like I'm sure they will wear a patch all season, but I feel like it's your 50th season. You're going to do something special, and you're going to bring back retro night or something like that. Oh, can we do retro ticket pricing? That would be great.
Yeah,
I
I'll
would
take
love some retro ticket pricing.
that. That is definitely not going to happen.
Let us know in the chat. Do you think this preseason schedule is kind of teasing the potential of the original Capitals logo coming back on the Caps backs on their sweaters for a special game this year? I don't know. That to me looks like the old school logo. But we do have some good games there. You've got Philly, you've got Boston, you've got New Jersey, Columbus twice, and then Boston to end it up. So some good preseason action there. Some home games, some away games. Get everybody's feet wet, get them back into the rhythm of things, and some good teams to be trying out some new guys against.
Yeah. I mean, it's preseason. I think it's the last two that I'm really the most interested in because that's when you get like the guys that are going to be playing opening night and playing on the roster are actually there.
Remember, if you'd like to chat with us, you can be in the live chat over on YouTube, youtube.com/@BrandoCashPods. And we're also on Twitch, twitch.tv. Is it twitch.tv? I'm not a big Twitch guy, so I don't know this really. Twitch.tv/TheRealBrandoCash. You can watch along as we do this live show. And if you guys really dig this, we will do it more often in season. This is kind of like a nice little test drive here on a Friday night as we figure out some like bumps in the road. But let us know, leave us a comment. What do you think about the preseason schedule? What do you think of the big trade? Anything we've talked about, if you'd like to chime in, we'd love to hear from you. So other stuff going on in Caps world. The Capitals bought Cap Friendly, Coach Dan's favorite website. They bought Cap Friendly. And what's the story on that, Coach? Because like apparently everybody, reporters, other teams, they're all pretty ticked off.
Well, I think that this is not great for an audio medium, but here was my reaction. You'll be able to see it. Anyone watching will be able to see it. This is my reaction when they announced the Caps bought Cat Friendly. And I was like, huh? Was there a typo?
Yeah,
I was like,
texted you that.
why?
You were like, what? What is that?
I was like, why? I didn't understand. I think the thing that people are most mad about is that it was a great site for fans to be able to go in and like understand the nuances of like.
It was like Fantasy GM.
And yeah. Oh, that was so much fun to play with. And so I remember I saw that and I was like, but why? Like, why do you want to buy that? I still don't quite understand why they want it. I get it because like I guess other teams were using it and using that service and using the people there, their employees or whatever. If I can understand if the Caps want to do it because it gives them a leg up, sure, by all means do it. It just seemed like I don't know, messed up for the fans. Like I understand why fans are upset. Now we've had other ones that have popped up before and have had to be taken down for various reasons. And may that one person rest in peace. And so there's another one. The cat. Yeah, you're looking confused. Was it Cap Geek? The guy who ran that site the owner, he passed away, and that's why that one ended up being taken down. So Cap Friendly, I believe, is up until like mid-July or it's after the draft, and then the Caps will take it down. And then the new one, I guess, is going to be Puckpedia, which, if I have that right, is kind of the same thing. And my guess is it starts to kind of incorporate some of the other things that Cap Friendly had. If it doesn't, I just haven't used it very much. I don't know it as well. I'm intrigued to kind of learn more about it and how it works and just kind of their layout. I really liked Cap Friendly, this layout and how it worked. So we will. Oh, I like this. It has injuries kind of incorporated with the Caps and their news and transactions. Ooh, might like this website. This is gonna be fun. So, but it was just weird. Like you texted me about it. I was just like, huh? Why would they do like? So Leon's just throwing money around. Like you have to spend as much trying to build a stadium in Virginia. Like I don't get it. I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
Well, other important dates coming up in the calendar for the NHL. June 28th and 29th will be the 2024 NHL Draft. I will be tuning in just because I need to see what the Sphere in Las Vegas is going to look like for a draft party. That's going to be bananas. I mean,
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
I can't wait to see what they're going to do with the Sphere. I actually had a friend recently go to see a show there and just said how absolutely amazing the experience was. So I'm excited to see what they do to the Sphere for the NHL Draft. And then some point before July 1st, so in the next week and a half or so, the actual NHL schedule is supposed to be released. I always love looking at that to see what games are coming up around Thanksgiving and Christmas and when the break's going to be. And I know they've got the Four Nations tournament happening this time around. Who's going to be playing Super Bowl Sunday? So I love looking at the schedule. So I know Coach Dan's busy in the summer. I might be doing a solo show for that one. And then July 1, free agency begins. So a lot's going on towards the end of June and early July. NHL's keeping everybody busy. So we'll probably be around a little bit more in the next couple of weeks just to kind of get some content out there and keep you guys informed of what the Capitals are doing. But we had to do a show talking about Kuemper leaving town and Pierre-Luc Dubois heading to the Washington Capitals as number 80 because, man, a lot of people were upset about it. So we had to give our 2 cents. But we're not going to do all the segments like we have done in the past because, I mean, there's just not a lot going on right now. But we got to talk about our boys in chocolate up in Chocolate Town, Hershey Bears. They're still going for the Calder Cup. It got a little close there towards the Eastern Conference Finals. But the Bears are pushing for the Calder Cup. So, Coach Dan, catch us up. Tell us what the Bears have been up to.
Well, right now they are tied in their series at 2 games apiece. Are they heading back to Hershey? Is it like they do they probably can't do the back and forth. So my guess is they have one more game in Coachella Valley before they head back to Hershey for games 6 and, if necessary, game 7. But it's
game
a tough
6
series.
Is in Hershey on Monday, I believe.
So okay, cool. So it's been a tough series, but these are 2 of the top teams in the AHL, and it makes a lot of sense. It's a tough series, and Hershey lost game 1 and game 3, and then was able to come back in games 2 and 4 to tie up the series each time, and hopefully that trend does not continue, and hopefully they're able to wrap things up with a win in game 5 and 6, or 5 and 7, or 6 and 7, or whatever the case is, and win another Calder Cup for the Hershey Bears.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't know if you've been watching the games. I am not allowed to watch the games. It's very sad. I try, but I am not allowed to watch the games. My lady has told me on multiple occasions to turn the TV off because, for whatever reason, when I turn the TV on and I start watching, the other team gets a goal. Every single time. Within 10 seconds of me turning that TV on, the other team gets a goal. And I was watching, I texted you the one night. Zach Fish was a little premature. The Bears got a goal with like 45 seconds left. And he said, we're going to the Calder Cup Finals. And then Cleveland came back after 15 seconds of celebrations. And then they scored and tied it up again. And I was like, okay, I'm not allowed to watch this anymore. So I think it was game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. I was working late. It's been a lot of late nights recently at work, but I was working late. I came home. I turned the game on, and Cleveland got a goal to go ahead or something like that. And I went, okay, I'm out. Not watching anymore. I turned it off. So then I get a FaceTime from my lady, and she was like, they're in overtime. The Bears are in overtime. So she was watching it for me and then was telling me how they won it in overtime because I'm not allowed to watch. So I'm paying attention to highlights. I'm listening on the radio sometimes, but I am not watching the games because I feel like I am bringing the Bears some bad luck. I don't know why. I love the Bears. I want the Bears to win back-to-back Calder Cups, but I will not be watching these games, and it is for their own good.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to Caps playoff games. I'm bad luck.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what else is going on? We got the Stanley Cup Finals still going on in late June here. So I think they play tonight, right? It's Edmonton and it's Florida.
Yeah, game 6, Oilers hosting Florida Panthers after coming up with it. They're down 3-0 in the series, and now it's 3-2 Florida. I'd like to see the Oilers win it so Canada can have the Stanley Cup return as I think the first team since the 90s. I want to say 93 or something like that.
Since Bettman took over.
Ooh, there's a good conspiracy. No,
it's the Bettman curse. A Canadian team has not won since he took over. 100. That's fact.
Yeah, I think a lot of those they've just not had very good teams as well.
I blame Bettman.
Also, I blame general managers not doing a good job. So aside from that, yeah, I mean it's cool. It's nice. I haven't really been able to watch much hockey just because of my real job. So, go Oilers. I have an Oilers jersey. I should have put that on before we were recording.
Yeah. There's one really good Oilers team fan on X. She does great work. So really, really appreciate all of her effort and everything she's got there. So, Coach Dan, is that the show?
I think that's it, buddy.
All right, everybody. Well, if you would like to continue the conversation with Coach Dan or I, you can. It's real easy. You can follow us both over on X. You can follow me at Brando Cash. Coach Dan, where can people follow you at?
You can find me on Twitter at WTP. I'm not calling it that. It's stupid. You can find me on Twitter at WTP Coach Dan, where I'm talking maybe not lately, but all kinds of Capitals related stuff. It'll be more interesting, more content coming from me once things actually happen in the world of Capitals hockey. It's been a little quiet. Dubois trade. I started putting my thoughts out there. And on there talking about Arsenal Football Club. It's the off season right now. The Euros are happening, but all the games are when I'm at work, so I can't.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, who are you rooting for in this Euro tournament? Because I watch it, but I'm still so confused of what's going on. But the fans really seem to love it.
Well, you see, they kick the ball with their feet; they don't throw it.
Oh, okay. I'm already lost.
There's no sticks. So, anyways, you kick it in the goal. You kick the puck in the goal in hockey. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
probably gonna root for Germany just because it's my name.
Because of Kai Havertz.
It's my birthright. Yeah. So I guess I should root for Germany.
So I'm following England and Italy with
Okay.
a couple other teams I'm just kind of paying attention to because they have players I like or various reasons. So it's kind of fun to watch and pay attention. England not having a great start, but we'll see what happens. Also kind of following Scotland because I've been to Scotland a few times. Love it. Anyways, I also, follow the Bills and the Commanders and a whole other wide world sports. Orioles are having a good season, dominating. Need to catch up to the Yankees. Nats kind of doing what they're doing, being better than expected and rebuilding. Dylan Cruz getting moved up to, oh my God, I totally just blanked on where he's actually playing right now. Rochester? Who's their AAA affiliate? Why can't I remember? Oh, that's embarrassing. I totally know where it is. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Hershey. The Orioles is Norfolk, right? Or Norfolk.
That's
Rochester. Yeah. He just blasted it on a second home run with Rochester. I was watching the clip a few moments ago on Twitter. But it's the summer, man. I'm just super busy in the summer, so it's kind of hard to watch sports. And I have 2 small children, so that makes it even harder. But you can find me on Twitter at WTP Coach Dan. But hey, if you've enjoyed the show, go ahead and check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/whatthepuckpod. It's where we'll post when new shows are coming out, as well as all sorts of things related to the Washington Capitals, the Hershey Bears, the South Carolina Stingrays. Brandon, I have to pause because we almost forgot to talk about something that you sent me.
Uh-oh.
There is some talk.
I send you a lot of stuff.
You do send me a lot of stuff, but I think this one was from Russian Machine about, and this could go into what I was talking about the Stingrays. Also find us on facebook.com/whatthepuckpod about the Hershey Cubs. But there's some talk. You sent me the article from Russian Machine about there being word of the city of Frederick, Maryland, trying to get an ECHL team.
Yeah, if you remember a couple months ago, you and I were talking about it, of what city in Maryland could host an ECHL team. We figured Baltimore was probably out, but Frederick was our next guess. So we are not that far off of what we potentially saw happening. And I was like, I can see Frederick supporting a hockey team where Baltimore probably wouldn't. So it was a good guess on our part. Really was. And I would love to see a team in Frederick. I think
why can't we have a team in Baltimore? Baltimore
It's
deserves a hockey team. What's the drive from Frederick to Baltimore? Like 45 minutes?
45
No,
minutes.
half hour? 45 minutes. Okay.
45
So
minutes.
like I'm looking right now at MarylandDemographics.com. Cities by population. I don't know what year they did this. Probably no, according to 2023
When was
population
the
estimates program.
census? When was the
So
census?
2020? 2019, 2020, something like that, wasn't it? Anyways, Baltimore, obviously the largest city in terms of population in Maryland. Would you like to guess the second one?
Frederick.
Columbia.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Close to DC.
I mean, there's an advertisement currently blocking the number, so I can't tell you what it is. That's really annoying. Number 3, Germantown, down here in Montgomery County, and
Again,
then
DC
Frederick.
related.
Yeah, but then, well, Columbia is not DC related. Columbia is like in between Baltimore. Columbia is like the midpoint between Baltimore and DC. People in Columbia get both the DC news channels and the Baltimore news channels. They get both, which is kind of fun. Frederick is number 4, followed by Silver Spring. Now, I don't know if that means like city of Silver Spring or the area of Silver Spring, because here in Montgomery County, we don't make a lot of sense. Silver Spring is a vast area.
To make a lot of sense,
anyway,
make a lot of money. You make a lot of dollars, not cents.
So, anyways, the fact that it's Frederick and not Baltimore, I think, would surprise me a little bit.
Yeah, the Frederick
But
Keys
either way-
always have a hockey night. I mean, it makes sense. There's minor leagues already there. And I think that's the other thing. We talked about this months ago. Baltimore does not see itself as a minor league city. Baltimore sees itself as a major league city. I don't think they would support a minor league team because it is a minor league. I think you put it in a place like Frederick, which does have a growing population, which does have the Keys. So there is some sports out there already. You've got somebody who built that stadium. You've got people that are willing to invest. I think a hockey team would fit great into Frederick. I think it would be supported by the town of Frederick, and I think it makes a lot of sense. The only caveat is it's an ECHL team. It's got to be with the Capitals. Like if it's a different,
That
if
would
it's
be
a West
ideal.
Coast, if it's a West Coast team, that Maryland might not support the team. It's got to be related to the Capitals, otherwise it's not going to work.
I mean, I think if it happened, here's the question: do they just like have an expansion team? Do they just an owner have to relocate another team?
Well, what didn't a
You know-
team like fold mid-season last year? I feel
That's
like
true.
that happened.
Yeah, up in Canada. So, I mean, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, it looks like the Caps have, if I'm looking at this correctly, the Caps extended their affiliation with South Carolina through 2025-26. But Frederick would have to build an arena. So we're looking at this being, if it even was to happen, probably 3 or 4 years down the line. So I agree with you. In order for it to really work and sell well, it would probably need to be affiliated with the Caps. And then I think you have a nice kind of, we've got 270 to 70 to 15, not 270 to 70, 270 to 15 to then something else to get over to Hershey. That kind of, makes a lot of sense. So I'd be down. I don't know what the team name would be, but I'm down for having the ECHL team closer to home. I think that would be cool.
Yeah. They got Frederick Keys. Ooh, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. A good team name for Frederick. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, like Coach Dan said before we got off on that rant, Facebook.com/WhatThePuckPod. If you could do us a favor, please like the fan page, share it as well. Ask your friends to like it as well. We need to get to over 100 followers over on the Facebook page in order to be able to do Facebook Live. It's a new rule that went into effect on July 10th. Great timing for us to start this. Facebook said if you don't have 100 followers, you are not allowed to do Facebook Live on your page. So don't know how you're supposed to grow your page if they don't let you use all the tools, but whatever, Facebook sucks. But share our Facebook page with your friends. Tell them to be a Washington Capitals fan, please. Tell them to subscribe to us so we could do more of this live content, which has been a lot of fun putting this out on Twitch and YouTube. So what else should we talk about? Is that it? We got to talk about, we got to write us an Apple Podcast review. Rate us over on Spotify. Like I said, let everybody know on all of your social media platforms. Say, I'm a Washington Capitals fan. I listen to What the Puck, and you should too. So that is pretty much it for the show this week. Who knows when we'll do a show again. That's why it's important to subscribe, stay subscribed, and also check us out over on Facebook. And you can check us out again on YouTube if you'd like to watch the show. Let's say you're listening to this show. You're like, I actually wanted to see what their live show was like. it can be saved over on our YouTube page. So it's it's youtube.com/Brando Cash Pods. You can subscribe there. We've already been putting out reels and TikToks and shorts. They're called shorts over on YouTube. We've been putting out those vertical videos for the last season or so. So there is content over there for you to check out. You can check out this show, but we're going to do more of this moving forward. So this has been a lot of fun. So Coach Dan, is that it? Is that the show?
I think that's it, buddy.
All right, everybody. That's it for the show this week. Everybody, say it loud, say it proud. Let's go, Caps.